What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Everything College Basketball Podcast. My name is Peyton, and today I am joined with my good brother, Josh Burton. Josh, how's it going, my dude?
Well, it's different being in the number 2 chair today, but you wanted to do this. I said, this is your show on Thursday. So I'm doing well. Obviously, see, I'm rocking AC Milan here. If you can watch the live here on the YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that fun stuff. I'm doing good. I've got South Carolina. They are now pulling away and blowing out Arkansas. So
that
my
game's
sleeper
over
didn't
with.
make it quite as far as I predicted in my article, but nonetheless, I'm doing good.
Well, my sleeper in the Big 12, I'm pretty sure they're getting their ass kicked by Houston right now. At least they were. They were up.
They
were down like
smoked.
31-15, and they had 18 offensive boards in the first half and still only scored 15 points, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're getting smoked.
A lot to unpack in today's episode 182. On our way to the big dance. Selection Sunday is this Sunday. We've seen more conference tournament bids be punched this week. A lot of craziness happened, but let's go ahead and get into it. This is the first time I'm pretty sure I wore a Louisville memorabilia on the show in a very long time. I think it might be the first all season, to be honest.
It's been a while, yeah.
The reason I am wearing this is because probably the biggest headline of the week this far is Kenny Payne is finally fired after 2 seasons. He combined with a 12-52 overall record. He won only one game outside of the Yum Center, and that was the game this season when they went at Miami and won. It's finally done. The nightmare is over with. Josh, your first thoughts. I'll let you start before I get into mine.
So you want to know the most damning thing? By the way, shout out Connor McCabe in the YouTube chat. If you are following along live with us in the Facebook, the YouTube, and the Twitter, drop your comments in the chat. We'll get to them as always. We appreciate everybody following along live with us. My initial thoughts, there was a stat that I think is pretty damning when you're at Louisville, especially. Kenny Payne, in his 2 years, had more Division II losses than he had road wins as the head coach of Louisville. Now, I want you to think about that. He played 4 Division II teams in 2 years, both in exhibitions. He had more losses to D2 schools than he had road wins as the head coach of Louisville. That says all you need to know. I mean, on a serious note, though, or I guess a more serious note, we've talked about this forever, since last year, when last year went south in a hurry and they won 4 games. They did make a 4-game improvement this year. They went 4-28 last year. Now they went 8-24 this year. But that's not good enough. Definitely not good enough to get you a 3rd year. And when you're at Louisville, we've talked about this. Louisville, Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, Indiana, North Carolina, UCLA, UConn, all these blue blood programs with all this rich history. You got to win and win big and win for long periods of time. If you win, you give yourself grace to have a down year or two every once in a while. But you can't win a combined 12 games in 2 years and expect to go for another year. Josh Heird finally, the Louisville AD, finally, I mean, literally almost as soon as Louisville got bounced the other night in the ACC tournament to North Carolina State, made the decision then. There's reasons why, which I'm sure we'll get into. He didn't do it sooner, but it had to be done. Kenny's a great guy. He was good to us for the brief interaction we had with him a couple years ago. Everybody says he's a great guy, but as a head coach, this failed miserably.
So here's some of my thoughts, and I'm going to hold it. I'm not going to give all of my thoughts because I have an article that I wrote today that's going to probably be published within the next 48 hours, at least definitely hope it's out before Selection Sunday. So I want to promote that and leave some of my thoughts into there because, I mean, there's a lot of writing I did in the past. I've had a lot of time to reflect on these past couple of seasons, and even though I'm not the greatest with words, I feel like I could put this into better words if I did it on like paper or like in an article or blog type format. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully it'll be out in the next couple of days. But the one thing that I want to discuss, year 1 was a disaster. We all know this. We started the season 0-20 or 0-9. First game that we won was in mid-December of last season. Fast forward into the year. By the way, that we ended that season finishing with a 4-28 overall record, the lowest amount of wins that we've had since like the 1940s when we won like 7 games. We went like 7-12. That's ridiculous. We fast forward to this season. Last season was more towards not having enough talent. You can chalk it up to that. Didn't have enough talent. KP didn't have his roster that he wanted. He was left in a bad situation. I'll give him a slight break on that. Fast forward into this season, it was all on him. As much as he wants to bitch and complain and said the fan base let him down and basically played the victim card, which is absolutely ridiculous, we were there to support him. We were there. We were excited. I'll speak for myself. I was excited when KP got announced as the head coach of the University of Louisville men's basketball team. He lost the program. He lost the fan base. This is all on him. And I go into this season. The on-court stuff, yeah, we won 4 more games than what we did last year. Sure, we weren't as bad as we were last year. We had more talent than we had last year. We had 2 5-stars on our program, Brandon Huntley Hatfield, and we had Dennis Evans Jr. Both of them were former 5-stars. We had Sky Clark, who's a former 4-star, who was very, very talented. We had Tyler Johnson, who's talented. We had a good enough roster to compete and win more games than what we won last year, and we failed the mark. We didn't get it done, and that goes all onto him. The biggest thing, dude, we had so many off-the-court issues, it's not even funny. We had players who didn't want to play in the first shot because he didn't bring his correct underpants. What the hell are we doing? We had coaches who starting blogs into the season, Nolan Smith. What are we doing? We had KP, all of his losses, which was a lot during his 2 years at Louisville. All of his post-game comments was some of the most ridiculous comments I have ever heard a coach say in my lifetime of covering the sport. It was bad from the get-go, and it all really started. The picture was painted last season when we hired Milt Wagner as one of our coaches, one of our staff members, and we couldn't get his grandson, DJ Wagner. That should have shown the recipe for disaster. I am glad this nightmare is over with for now. Josh, you have any final thoughts on anything I said about that before we go into potential candidates, maybe?
Well, I mean, I definitely, obviously, I think you're correct in a lot you said. I mean, I think a lot of this can be summed up. Eric Crawford from WDRB there in Louisville just wrote a tremendous article that I would suggest everybody go out of their way to read. It is a pretty lengthy piece, and he's very much nicer about it because he does like Kenny. So he didn't come out full balls to the walls, like cutting down, but he revealed quite a bit. The Nolan Smith situation where it got revealed he was the one that was planting the leaks to people that KP was going to be fired. And it kind of goes hand in hand. I mentioned Josh Heard had his presser yesterday officially announcing the firing of KP. I thought he did a tremendous job. I thought he was great during that presser with his composure and the words he chose. And something that stuck out to me is he was asked about some of that stuff, and he brought it up when Louisville got beat back-to-back back in December to Arkansas State and Kentucky, that he was so emotional at the time. He wanted to basically make the decision then, and he had people around the program telling him to let him go, and he had to take a step back, take a day or two, and he said, this is a very emotional business, but you can't always lead with emotion. Basically, long story short, making it seem like he wanted to fire him after the Kentucky game, but decided it wasn't fair. It had been unprecedented to fire a guy after only 18 months on the job, and he gave him to the end of the year. Then they actually kind of shortened the buyout clause too, so it saved him some money. But Peyton, let's talk about some candidates here.
Yeah, so I've got a list of 5 candidates I want to mention. 3 of them that's already been kind of covered throughout the media. A lot of these names are going to be names that you've heard, and then I added 2 of my own that I think would be very, very intriguing. Number 1, the first hire, the first coach I am calling immediately is Scott Drew from Baylor. He's a former national champion. He's a hell of a recruiter. He's a hell of an X's and O's coach. He's an all-around, just a great guy who can get it done at the University of Louisville. And if you get him that fan base, 20,000, I can just imagine it now, 20,000 plus in the Yum Center packed for a Louisville game with Scott Drew at the helm. He would instantly, Louisville would be back at the snap of the fingers because in today's era of college basketball, with NIL and the transfer portal as being as consistent or as important as it is now, you can flip a program instantly. And with his ability to recruit, not only on the high school level, but also get players through via the transfer portal, he is a very aggressive individual. He's very well coached. He's very well behaved. He has no baggage to him whatsoever, which, thank God, that's exactly what we need. We don't need any more of the Chris Beards of the world or anything like that. We need a clean guy. He absolutely is. You can coach and you can recruit. He is my number one call if I am Josh Hield. Absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts. Love me some Scott Drew. And I heard some rumors that we're going to go all out for him. And boy, I hope he does. Because the worst thing he can say is no. At least you got to try, though, Josh.
Well, the news that we've all been hearing from different sources is that Josh Hield is prepared to go all in on Scott Drew. He's going to make him say no. And Scott Drew, of course, again, sources, rumors have basically through his people have told Louisville that wait until Baylor's season's over with. They're still in the Big 12 tournament. They played tonight in the quarterfinals. Then they'll have the NCAA tournament. Wait until their season's over, and then they'll sit down and have discussions. Louisville, the rumors are that they're prepared to make Scott Drew amongst the top three most or highest paid coaches in college basketball, only behind Bill Self and John Calipari. So the money's going to be there. It'll re-energize the fan base. You've already touched base on the recruiting end. He's proven time. If you can, no offense to Waco, Texas, but if you can get these high-level 5-star and 4-star kids and high prospect transfers to come to Waco, Texas, imagine what you can do at Louisville with the resources, the fan base, the backing, all that. So I'm 100%. I think you go all in on Scott Drew and make him tell you no. The only downside I could see, Scott Drew is a very mellow person. He is very much nice, calm, cool, collected. Louisville, a lot like their counterpart 74 miles down the road, is a fishbowl. You are being under watchful eye no matter where you go, for good and bad. When it's good, you're going to have Louisville fans stalking you in the Walmart just to get pictures and autographs. They're going to be helicoptering and droning and following your car to see where you go to eat so they can go hang out with you. And when it's bad, they're going to do the same thing, but it's going to be much nastier. So can Scott Drew's kind of mellow demeanor turn into more of a political type person that you need to take a job like Louisville, go around shaking hands, kissing the babies proverbially, and all that? I think he can. I think he'll be a tremendous hire, and I think that's got to be number one. And to me, it sounds like Josh Hield has his shit together, and they're going to target Scott Drew. So that would be number one. We all agree on that. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, the names we've been hearing are a little interesting. I'll let you name them off real quick so we can move on.
The next hire, who I absolutely is the complete opposite of Scott Drew, is Mick Cronin. I get he has ties with Louisville, and yes, he's won a lot of ball games, and yes, he's been to a Final Four here recently. But let's also not forget that Final Four. There was no fans in there. I'm not saying there's an asterisk to it because they're not. They definitely earned it. And also, I was about to mention there was in a play-in game. You had Johnny Juzong and you had Jaime Jaquez and you had Tiger Campbell all on the same roster, and you had to go through a play-in game to do that. And you really beat Michigan State, if I remember that.
Yeah,
game
no, you're right.
It was a close game. So even though they went to the Final Four that year, even though I know the style we're going to play. It's going to be ugly basketball. He's going to grind it out. Defensively, sure will be great, and sure will probably be tough. But man, the offense is going to be so stuck in the mud. We're going to be winning games in the low 60s, and it's an ugly. We'll be playing ugly basketball, and he has an ugly personality, and I just don't think it'll be a good fit for Louisville, even though he has ties. And yes, he is the type of dude, when it goes bad, he will throw his players under the bus like he's done 100%. This season. And that's something we just don't simply need because we've already dealt with it with KP.
Louisville's NIL money. They've got NIL money, collectives that are dying to pitch in. That's something else about Kenny Payne that you hear in the Eric Crawford article. Are you reading the Eric Crawford article? Is that the Louisville boosters and the collectives wanted to help Kenny Payne, and he kind of is like, "Now I've got people, we'll do it on our own." Louisville's got NIL; they've got great support. Got it. Mick Cronin, he's not totally against NIL, but he's not like embracing it like you should.
Yeah,
and I'm with you. He could come there; he would stabilize the program. You would be solid, but I don't think you'd ever be more than solid. And Louisville needs to be better than solid. They need to be good to great all the time.
Yep. Moving on, we got Dusty May on the list. I like Dusty May. Obviously, he's done a hell of a job in these past couple of seasons at Florida Atlantic, coming off of a Final Four run last year. The one thing I have concerns with is, for one, he's going to have to do this at a higher program, a way better program than FEU is, and that is a little bit up in air for me. I think he's a good coach, a good recruiter. Obviously, there's something about him, because for him coming off of a Final Four run to keep guys like Janelle Davis coming back, even though they had legitimate chances to go to potentially a blue blood or higher level programs, to get those guys and Elijah Martin, all these guys to come back, obviously there's something about him that draws recruits and draws players to him. So maybe he can recruit with an NIL that Louisville has and the facilities and stuff like that, and just tradition of the program. Maybe he would be good, but he's not someone that's going to be high on my list, but he's definitely higher than Mick Cronin. Moving on, just a couple names that I haven't been seen thrown around much. One of them I have seen just a little bit, and Jerome Tang and Brad Underwood are two coaches I think would fit really well into Louisville for a couple different reasons. First of all, these two, as Josh looks like his computer just died or something. Oh, no, he's back.
No, I was trying something. Sorry. I was trying that solo shot for you. Sorry, go ahead, continue.
Anyways, Brad Underwood and Jerome Tang are two options that I don't see thrown around too much. I would love both of those guys for different reasons. Both of those guys are going to recruit the transfer portal hard. They're going to recruit high school kids very hard. They're going to get the top guys, especially with being at Louisville. Would love to see those guys there. Jerome Tang, his personality fits really well for Louisville. It fits almost as perfect as a glove would. Like, he would fit in really well, his personality-wise, to Louisville. And Brad Underwood, he's a hard-nosed coach. He's going to coach these kids hard. And that's something Louisville hasn't had since Rick Pitino. And we need a coach like that who's going to coach these kids hard. He's going to attack the transfer portal aggressively, and he's going to get high school kids coming out of high school. So those are two options. Those are really the five options that I've been hearing. Really three of them, and the couple I've added on my list.
The three I heard today from Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio, that he had mentioned he had heard from some people he knows that are really well connected. And again, these are rumors, but he did say this on air. You go back and check today's KSR podcast. He heard that Louisville is obviously going all in on Scott Drew. Option number 2 would be Dusty May. Option 3 would be Chris Beard. Chris Beard would be another really good hire, but I don't know. If Louisville got him, I wouldn't be upset if I was a Cardinal fan. But I think maybe there's people that I would
too much baggage. It's too soon. Like, he literally just came off a couple of years ago with that whole situation that I'm not going to discuss. Like, it's just too much baggage. That's something I just don't want. So I didn't know, like, X's and O's. I think he's a hell of a coach in recruiting. Also, another name I've heard is potentially Will Wade. Same thing with him. Will Wade, both of those guys are great coaches, but they got too much baggage for them. There's two coaches, like, I think they would fit into Louisville, but I don't necessarily think I'd want them there.
The one thing, and I'll say so we can wrap this part of it up, regardless who Louisville hires, it's got to be a home run in one way, shape, or of another. It's got to be a home run, and home runs come in different forms, right? But the one thing for certain we can say is the new era of Louisville basketball starts now. Whenever they make this hire inside the next 3 to 4 weeks, the new era of Louisville basketball starts now, and they've got to get it right. They have to get it right this time.
Yep, absolutely. This is the most important offseason in Louisville basketball history. It's going to set the precedent for the future for Louisville basketball, and hopefully we get it right, because I'm tired of losing and I want to be on the same level as Kentucky. And that hurts to say for me. But let's go ahead and move on. That's not the only coach firing that's happened this week. A couple more that's happened. Mike Boynton is out of Oklahoma State, and Jerry Stackhouse is out at Vanderbilt. Josh, give me your thoughts on both of those coaches being fired / let go.
Listen, Mike Boynton went 12-20 this year. His season ended back on Tuesday in the first round of the Big 12 championship, where they got beat up by UCF, who is a newcomer to the Big 12. They had losing streaks of 5. They ended the year on a 5-game losing streak. And you look at Mike Boynton, he was hired back 2018, went 21-15. Did you know in his tenure since 2018, his best conference record was 11-7? Back in 2021, when Oklahoma State made the only time they made the tournament, or Mike Boynton, they made it to the second round, and that was 11-7. He never had one other conference record outside of 2021 where they even finished 500 in conference play. He went 8-10, 5-13, 7-11, 11-7, 8-10, 8-10, and this year 4-14. That's not good enough. It's not. And early promise, I mean, obviously Brandon Cade Cunningham, he hired his brother to be on staff. He was bringing in top recruits, but the top recruits stopped coming. And then his best players would transfer out. It was a long time coming. I'm sure Mike Boynton will get picked up somewhere on somebody's staff or maybe drop down to a lower division and be a head coach again somewhere else. But Oklahoma State is a sneaky good job with sneaky like history. Maybe not in terms of like money and NIL and all that stuff right now, but I'm just talking about in pure basketball history in the college basketball landscape. That's a sneaky good job in a really good conference that I think Oklahoma State can go out and get somebody good. Maybe they'll have to pull somebody from like the mid-major or kind of lower major level. But somebody, if they can get the right coach in there, I think Oklahoma State could be towards the top half of the Big 12 consistently again, making tournaments year in, year out, or every other year or whatever. But it was time for Mike Boynton. As far as Jerry Stackhouse goes, I like Stack. Listen, I like Jerry Stackhouse.
Yes,
the best dressed man in college basketball as far as coaching
without a doubt.
And Vanderbilt's a tough job. Like there's academic stuff that you have to get through, and then some. I mean, most people just don't want to go play at Vanderbilt. And he's had good recruits, and he's had a couple sneaky good teams. But when they lost Scottie Pippen Jr., I mean, you can't go 9-23 this year. Like you just can't. And they just weren't great. They went 22-15 last year, and that was a good year for them. 19-17 in 2022, 9-16 during the first year back from COVID, 11-21. So you kind of get the picture, Peyton. Like he just wasn't winning a lot, and it was probably time. Now, again, Stack will probably go back to the NBA if we're being honest, but man, it's time. Vandy's a hard job, though.
Yep. I think this was a long time coming. I figured it was going to happen a couple seasons ago, but he did have that good season last year where I'm pretty sure he won Coach of the Year honors in the SEC.
Yeah, they were competitive.
Yeah, but he's had a lot of bad seasons, a lot of losing seasons, a lot of seasons of missing out in the NCAA tournament. And when you're in the Power 6 conference, you can't go long stretches of not making the big dance, and that's basically what he did. So long time coming. Mike Boynton, I think, is going to be back in the mid-majors sometime soon. I think he's going to do a good job there because pre-NIL, I think he was doing a decent job. Just Oklahoma State, like you mentioned, NIL, they don't have it. They're one of the lower half of schools in the Big 12 when it comes to NIL money. We'll see what they do in the off seasons. But moving on, Chris Holtmann, basically, it's not confirmed yet, even though CBS Sports College Basketball, Matt Norlander did an article about it, and that basically like kind of confirming this is happening. So I guess I'll go off him, and if it's not true, then it's their fault, not ours. DePaul gets Chris Holtmann, apparently. Josh, good hire, bad hire?
That's a great hire for DePaul. I know things didn't go necessarily well last year, and then at least the back end of last year, and then this year leading up to his firing. But that's a great hire simply because DePaul's been so awful that Chris Holtmann at least has a track record of getting good guys in and can at least keep a program kind of at least middle of the pack. And anything's going to be an improvement for DePaul. Like he can go in next year and win 12 games, and it'll be a great year for DePaul. But honestly, he has a chance in the next 2 or 3 years if he can get some players into Chicago there to, maybe we talk about NIT, maybe an NCAA tournament in 2, 3, 4 years or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a great hire for a program like DePaul.
And Chris Holtmann's like first 4 seasons, the first 5 seasons at Ohio State, he won like 5 straight, had 5 straight 20-point or 21 seasons, excuse me. If you do a 21 season at DePaul, that's probably the difference of you making an NCAA tournament or potentially being an NIT. Like you're making postseason play if you can get 20 wins at DePaul. Definitely, it's definitely an improvement in my eyes. I think Chris Holtmann's a good coach and definitely a great hire. Let's go ahead and move on. Real quick, Memphis just got beat by Wichita State in the second round. That's a job that could be opening up. We'll see. We'll have to pay more attention on the offseason, but 71-65, Wichita State knocks
We could have Memphis and Louisville open up.
And Michigan potentially would join.
And Michigan maybe.
I tell you, this offseason
might get carousel.
This offseason might get it might get wild. But let's go ahead and move on. We got a couple games to discuss. Like I mentioned earlier, the couple bids that will punch this week. Let's go ahead and start it off with the ASUN title. The Stetson Hatters, 94-91 over Austin P. This is the game that saw Jalen Blackman, 43 points for a chance to punch your ticket into March. This kid showed out and showed up in this game. Josh, you and Trev had the opportunity to talk to Coach Donnie Jones this week. Go check out that video. By the way, it's posted on our YouTube page. It's posted on Facebook and Twitter. Go check that out. It's a great interview. They did a great job doing that. Had fun listening to it. But Josh Stetson wins the ASUN title, and Jalen Blackman, 43 points in a conference title game. Holy hell. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Coach Jones, like you mentioned. It's on the YouTube channel, and he was just like he was blown away, but at the same time he expected it. And he made a kind of funny reference too. He's like, I was asking him about Jalen, coming from Marion High School, and his brother was a big time player at Indiana, and his dad was a big time player for Kentucky back in the 80s. So he has that like DNA embedded in him. And he said, listen, I have like 117 players on offense, and like 93 of them designed for Jalen. So that shows the faith in this kid. 43 in a conference championship game, in the biggest game of your life to that point. The winner wins the conference tournament championship and moves on to the NCAA tournament, and he drops 43, 5 of 9 from 3. He shot 17 free throws, made 14 of them. He was tremendous. This was a really high-scoring, fun game between two, I won't say incredible, but they were really fun teams to watch, right? Especially at the mid-major level. But it was an incredible college basketball game, 94-91, high-scoring. Had just about everything you could want out of champ week type games. And yeah, Stetson's going dancing, and Coach Jones was awesome to talk to. Shout out Jalen Blackman in Marion, Indiana. I mean, what a game, man. And like Coach said in the interview, I asked him, looking ahead to whoever you're going to play in the first round, I said, what is kind of a message if you're looking to face your team that makes your team so scary, basically? And he said, we have really good guard play. Stephon Swinson, Jalen Blackman, Tristan Gross, like they got really good guard play to watch out for, and I couldn't agree more with him.
So talking about this game in particular, Stetson, I picked them to win the ASUN title this year, especially once Eastern Kentucky and Lipscomb got knocked out early. It pretty much opened up the doors for Stetson to win this league title, even though they've only won it by 3. It was a very high-scoring, competitive game. Here's why I think Stetson can be a Cinderella team in March. There's a couple reasons why. For one, if we go into, I don't know how to correctly pronounce his last name, Evan Meyer, Evan Mia, however you correctly pronounce his last name. I think it's Evan Mia, so I'll go ahead and say it like that. EvanMia.com, he does a great job analytically wise of giving you stats for all these teams. And one of the things I think he started doing this year, I forgot the correct terminology he's been using for it, but basically is when you're facing good to great teams, do you play up to that level? Do you play really good against those teams? Or do you play down to that level? Basically, you played really bad to those teams. And the higher the rating you are means you played good. The lower the rating means you play bad. Stetson's top 30 in that category. And they've got 2 players. When you're a Cinderella team in March, you need at least 1 player to go off, to have a superstar on your team. They've got 2. They've got Stephon Swinson, who the game before this in the semifinal against Jacksonville played amazing. He had 2 back-to-back threes, so willed them back into that game and ended up winning. And then you have Jalen Blackman, who put up 43 in a conference title game. I think this Stetson team, I don't know where they're going to be seeding-wise. I think they can upset a couple teams, and I think he can potentially get to the Sweet 16, depending on who they get in their draw.
Well, that's going to be lofty, and I love the confidence in them, but our guy over at he's the number 1 ranked bracketologist on Bracket Matrix. He follows us. We have interactions. Really good dude. So shout out Bracket Dom. Looking at his bracket here, and his last update from I think a few days ago, he has Stetson playing in Dayton in a 16 game against Norfolk State. The winner plays Tennessee. So they would have to win a game in Dayton, right? And then you have to go play Tennessee on a Thursday or Friday. I mean, it's a tall ask, but you know what? Like we talked with him, and he mentioned they got good guard play. It'd be interesting, but no matter what, they're in the NCAA tournament.
Yes, without a doubt. And that's the most important part. They did a hard job. Now the pressure is completely off their shoulders. So congrats to
Yeah, it's
them.
fun.
Congrats to them on winning the ASUN championship. Let's go ahead and move on to the Big South championship. The Longwood Lancers paid a 40-minute ass whooping on defending champs of UNC Asheville Bulldogs, 85-59. They were up 42-24 at halftime, up 18 points going into the second half. Waylon Napier was flirting with a triple-double in this game, by the way. 10 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds. You had Michael Christmas lead them in points with 18, 4, and 2. Josh, talking about this game, and also go ahead and plug your interview that just came out this morning.
Yeah, as a part of our extended tournament coverage, we've been doing all these exclusive interviews over in the YouTube. If you go back to last Sunday's show, we had Drew Thelwell from Morehead State on, so a lot of good content we're trying to bring to you guys leading up to the tournament and through the NCAA tournament. Phil and I sat down with D.A. Houston, senior guard for Longwood yesterday. One of their kind of senior leaders has been there. He played in the NCAA tournament when Longwood made it 2 years ago. And so we got a chance to sit down with him for about 10, 12 minutes yesterday, pick his brain. And yeah, I mean, they put an ass whooping on UNC Asheville, and he gave us great insight about how they dealt with and prepared for a guy like Drew Pember, you know, all conference type of player there in the Big South, was kind of one of the stars going into the NCAA tournament last year. And they blew him out. You said it best. They put a 40-minute ass whooping on him, 85-59. This is a team too, you know, that could be very interesting. Now, they were the 5 seed. They took out High Point. They beat High Point twice in the matter of a week, who was the 1 seed that cruised through the Big South Conference. But the things, and we talked with DA about this too, they're not the biggest team overall. But here's the impressive thing for not being the biggest in height. They rank 14th nationally in offensive rebound percentage. They're grabbing about 37% of their shots are ending with an offensive rebound, and they don't get blocked a lot for being undersized. They're 36th nationally in offense with getting their shot block percentage-wise. So this is a team that's scrappy. They're going to fight. They're old. They're tough. I mean, if you look again at Bracket Dom's bracket here, where's he got him at? Where's he got Longwood? Maybe he hasn't updated to include the Longwood yet. Oh, no, sorry. He's got them as a 16 playing Purdue. We've seen Purdue last year struggle against an undersized, scrappy team in FDU as a 16-1. Longwood fits that billing. I mean, honestly, if this was the bracket, Purdue should be the favorite big. But again, Longwood's tough and old, and they're not going to back down. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup. The one thing I like the small lineup that they bring on, them playing small ball. I do think they can give teams like a Purdue troubles, like it happened last year. But the one thing I don't necessarily love about this team is they're only shooting about 34% from 3 and only shooting about 48% from 2. They're not a high prolific scoring team. They win more games off their defense. So obviously in tournament play, you're gonna have to be able to hit some shots, especially if playing against a team like Purdue.
We talked with DA about this. They played Dayton in Dayton back on Saturday, December 30th. They only lost by 9 to Dayton, a team that's solidly in the tournament that could make a Sweet 16. They shot 6 of 15 from 3, which is 40%. I mean, it's not an incredible amount. But good. Again, tournament games, people come alive and have out-of-body experiences. That's not to say that they couldn't have a game like against a Purdue, for instance, where they hit like 9 or 10 of them and then just be tougher, get to loose balls, out-rebound Purdue's guards for offensive rebounds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I get your point.
Crazy experiences, and I wouldn't count Longwood out against anybody. Not saying that they'll win a 116, obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised if they make it real tricky for whoever they play in that first round.
It'll be intriguing to watch. Congrats to Longwood for winning the Big South tournament. Let's go ahead and move on to the Southland Championship. Manise State, the Cowboys beat the Colonials of Nicholls State. I correctly predicted this game, by the way.
3 times. Swept
them. I correctly predicted this game, by the way, when I did my Southland tournament preview. I had this being the finals, and this game kind of went expected, or how I expected this. Manise State really jumped them early, got up to a 48-32 lead at halftime, heading into the second half, and then basically just put them on them, kept the same pressure in the second half. Manise State put up 92 points, won 92-76. Christian Shoemate had a couple of incredible dunks, 11.6 rebounds, and Shahada Wells incredible player. He's a guy you need to watch out for in March in the big dance. 27 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. The job that Will Wade has done in his first year, flipping this program around. They won 11 games last year. This is the first time they're going dancing since 2002. That's a 22-year drought for this program. In his first season, he gets guys like Shahada Wells, who is a phenomenal player that can go off and average about 20 points in any type of game. And they got Christian Schumann. They've got a well-balanced roster. They've got 4 guys who can shoot over 38% from 3. This team's going to be like a 12, 13 seed around that area. That's upset watch for any higher seed. And I really like McNeese State to upset a team or two in March. They're just so talented. They've won 30 games this year, won 11 last year. Will Wade's not going to get recognition for National Coach of the Year, but he should get recognition for the job he's done in year 1, Josh.
Peyton, you want to talk about a team that has a player that could become a March Madness legend that we all love. You mentioned him, Shahada Wells. Look at his numbers, and I get obviously there's going to be naysayers like that's against the Southland. 27, 27, 14, 24, 16, 23, 12, 9, 13, 7. He had a couple down games there. But basically he's been in double figures the majority of the season. He put up 30 against Michigan. I know Michigan wasn't great, but he did it in the that's their football stadium. You know what I'm saying? He did it in Ann Arbor. He put up 36 on UAB on the road when they blew him out. In a loss to Western Carolina, who was decent this year, he put up 37. Point being, Shahada Wells could become a March Madness legend. And again, let's go back to Bracket Dom. He has them as a 12 seed in the West. Now, normally McNeese, if they get in the tournament, they're in that like 16 game, maybe a 15. This is how good they are.
Yeah.
They're a 12 seed. And I'm telling you right now, if this Sunday the bracket comes out and this is the region, McNeese would be a 12 playing 5-seeded San Diego State. Give me Cowboys, baby.
Give me
They would play the winner of 4-seed Kansas, 13-seed UC Irvine.
Fuck.
I think right now I'll save it for bank on it later because I'll save it for bank on it theoretically. How about that? All right. How about that? Because obviously this isn't the bracket. No, I'll go ahead and say it.
Yeah,
if this was the bracket, basically I'll say McNeese State would get Sweet 16. I'll say that way. Shahada Wells, man, I think he's primed to be a March Madness legend if McNeese State can win a game or two.
Looking at Lenardi's bracket, I don't know if this is his latest one. I haven't really paid attention, but whatever which one it is, they have McNeese as a 13 seed taking on 4-seed Illinois out west, which that game would be fun to watch. You're talking about high scoring teams, both teams who can hit shots. Like, it would be fun to watch. So I would love to see that matchup in the first round. But either way, I really like this McNeese squad. Hats off to Will Wade. He's done an incredible job. And they won the Southland title. First time since 2002. They're going back dancing. They got the dancing shoes on, baby. And you can tell after watching the post game, like, Will Wade was emotional because it was his first time back in the tournament in a while. So it's crazy performances out of them. They've been a great team all season long. Josh, is there anything specifically you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's look around some of these conference tournaments real quick. We don't have to spend long on them, but every conference tournament now in the Power Six is kicked off this week officially as we sit here and record. And a couple things I do want to point out, Peyton. How about over there in the A10, the number 1 seed Richmond goes down today. Yep. They get beat. I just lost who beat them.
St. Joe's.
St. Joe's. Thank you. The point being, Eric Reynolds' company, we've seen at the beginning of the year when they beat Villanova and they damn near beat Kentucky in Rupp Arena. Eric Reynolds, those guards, when they're playing well, man, they can really score the basketball. And I think we're going to predict the A10 out here soon or later on in the show. But what a win. I mean, Richmond had an incredible year to win the A10, get the number 1 seed, and then they're out in the first game. It's the madness of March. I want to talk about SEC Wednesday night because last night, SEC play opened up with the first round, and by far the best SEC Wednesday night I have seen ever. Normally it's dead. The crowd's kind of, they're just starting to file in. That building for both games last night, especially the first one between Arkansas and
Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt.
Thank you, man. I'm getting old.
That's why I'm the host. I'm here to help.
Arkansas and Vanderbilt was a wild affair where it was full. The building was packed. Vandy jumps out to a 15-point lead. Arkansas rallies, then blows it late because Ezra Magnon went nuts, hits a game-tying shot with like 1.3 seconds to go, and then Arkansas drags out and wins in overtime. Then Missouri, who did not win a game in conference play in the second game of the two last night, the last seed, the 14th seed in conference play, was up on Georgia late. They were up like 10 points with 3 minutes to go. Georgia rallies and gets a win. Incredible opening night to SEC play, but the crowd was packed, electric for a Wednesday night. Nashville, I mean, I wrote that article. You guys go find it. I've shared it all over socials on my personal page. We share it from the ECB page. You can go click the link, wrote it over our network over at houseenterprise.com. previewing this, and I mentioned how loaded the SEC tournament is for the first time in maybe 2 decades or more. And night one proved that. What a crazy SEC Wednesday. Also, shout out to Big East play last night. Xavier knocks Butler out. Sorry, DeRosa. Shout out DeRosa and Tadinga. They're in the Garden this week, by the way. So that's really cool.
Shout out Tadinga.
Sorry. I just caught that. I predicted Butler months ago, as you'll recall, to make the tournament. They're not going dancing after losing Xavier. How about DePaul? Winless like Missouri in conference play, had Villanova on the ropes, had them dead to rights, and Villanova, Justin Moore hits a 3-point shot from the top of the key with like 3 seconds left. And then DePaul doesn't get a shot up to win the game. Bad break for DePaul. Villanova, though, I don't care what they do against a short Marquette tonight. Villanova, 14 losses. You damn near and should have lost to DePaul. Get the hell out of my tournament. Get out of my tournament. And then the last thing, Peyton, you can talk about it real quick. I mean, obviously, Kansas, they got blown out by 20. Basically only had 6 scholarship players. Yep. No Dickinson, no McCullough, no Parker Brown to even really play. KJ Adams had 20-some, and if not for him, they would have got beat by 40. Cincinnati's surging right now, and Kansas is in real trouble. We can talk about it, but I think Kansas is in some real trouble come next week in NCAA tournament time. And I also feel bad for the Big 12 crowds. It was a light crowd. I heard Jeff Goodman talk about it. He was there last night. Light crowd in Kansas City, and it's probably going to be even lighter today and tonight because Kansas fans take over that building, and there's no point of them sticking around. So the Big 12 is kind of a boring-ass tournament, to be honest with you now.
Yep. No, I do. As far as this Kansas game goes, I'd be totally honest with you. I didn't watch this game for one because I obviously didn't care to watch it. Go check out my Big 12 media guide that I did. That's on House Enterprise. Go check that out. Like Josh did with SEC, I did the same thing with the Big 12. Some of my predictions, by the way, all have actually came true. You mentioned get Villanova out of the tournament, get Oklahoma out of the tournament because TCU beat them like I had expected they would, 77-70. I don't think Oklahoma's a tournament team, but we'll see what the committee thinks come Sunday. That's just my personal preference. Texas, last month and a half, has been looking like the second best team in the Big 12. They didn't even win a game in the Big 12 tournament. Kansas State goes in there, beats them 78-74. Tyler Perry had 21 points.
Do you think K-State, what do you think they need? Another win? You think if they beat Iowa State tonight, they're in the tournament?
If they get to the semis, they're in.
And would you rather, if they get to the semifinals tomorrow night, let's say they beat Iowa State tonight after just beating Texas.
Yes.
They are currently, let me look at their record right now. They're 19-13.
Yes.
They have some quality wins. They beat Baylor, right?
Yep.
They beat Villanova head-to-head. They beat them at home in overtime. They beat Kansas. They beat BYU. They beat Iowa State in last game regular season last Saturday. They beat Texas. Those are all tournament teams. I mean, if you say Villanova's in right now, those are all tournament teams. So why? And they play in the best conference. So if they can beat Iowa State for the second time in less than a week, that would put them at 20-13. No matter what happens in semifinals, you compare that with Villanova. I mean, I would put Kansas State in over Villanova.
So right now, by the way, before I say this, I broke my New Year's resolution of not ever looking at the net rankings. I kind of had to because I've been putting up these resumes over Twitter and Facebook these past couple of days. So I kind of had to look at the net rankings for that. If you look at the net, they're ranked 68 for the net. Kansas State is 19-13 overall. They're 2-8 in quad one and 2-2 in quad two. And obviously they've got some really good wins this season. I do think if they can get to the semis and they beat Iowa State, that'll be another quad one for them. That'll be 3 on the year. They'll be 3-9. We'll see what the committee thinks, but I personally would have them into the tournament. I'd rather see them in there than Villanova. I'd rather see them in there than Michigan State. That's just my personal opinion. Plus, they play in the Big 12, the best conference in college basketball. I still think Texas is probably still in the tournament. I don't know what other bracketologists are saying. I still think Texas has done enough in this month and a half to get them into the tournament.
Really? I mean, 20-12, and they'll get in. They're 25th in KenPom. The metrics are all good enough for them, are really good. I know the Big 12 inflates that, but we just named 3 teams that are all kind of similar. And Peyton, Texas is best. If you're looking solely at resume, their best wins, they've got a really good win at home against Baylor back on January 20th. They beat TCU on the road, which was a good win. They beat Texas Tech, which is a good win on the road. But really, outside of that, what do they have? They don't have like that. Baylor is their best win by a mile, right?
Yes.
Like in all the metrics. But they don't have like this loaded like slate full of like resume building wins. Basically what happened is they lost the games that they were supposed to lose. They won the games that they should win outside of maybe on the road at Texas Tech late in the year. And that's about it. And then they'll get in because the metrics are good enough and they played in the best conference college basketball. But if you told me there's 3 teams for one spot, Kansas State, Texas, Villanova, which one gets in?
Texas.
I'm going K-State.
You're telling me you want?
If they beat Iowa State, that's 2 Iowa State wins in less than a week.
Okay, that's fine. But here's the thing: that'd be your third quad one win. Texas has 4. If we're going off what the net rankings are saying, they're 4-6. They're top 30 in net rankings. And if we're looking at Texas's wins this season, yeah, Baylor overall beating them in the Moody Center overall their best win. But they went at TCU and beat a really good TCU squad. They beat Kansas State at home. They beat Texas Tech at Texas Tech's place, who Texas Tech is a pretty good freaking team. And Texas Tech going at their place and doing it, that's a really good win. And they won that game over by double digits. They won that game by 11 points. They beat Oklahoma in the final game of the regular season. I think they've got good enough wins, and obviously the metrics love them. They're going to happily get into the tournament. And as far as who I'd want to see in the big dance, get Max Adamus back into the tournament. Him and Tyrese Hunter, that could be a hell of a duo in March. I would salivate for a chance to watch those guys go at it in March.
Maybe. Texas plays as well as Dylan Dessou plays. Like Tyrese Hunter at Max Abus has to be good for them to win a game, make a run. But they're not making a run if Dylan Dessou is not any good. That's just, in my opinion, that's how it is. If Dylan Dessou plays good, Texas wins games. If he plays poorly, they don't win too many games, despite what Max Abus and Tyrese Hunter does. Peyton, real quick, because I do know we got to move on.
Yep, go ahead.
We'll run short on time here. But back to Kansas, I want to circle back just real quick. They've said, Jeff Goodman talked to him and said that, he reported, we'll put it that way, on the Field of 68 podcast last night, Field of 68 After Dark, that even though McCall or Dickinson didn't play last night, they're scheduled to play in the NCAA tournament next week. They're probably going to be a 4 seed. Maybe the committee takes the injuries in factor and gives them some leeway, which I can make a case for Kentucky in that with all the injuries and missed players. But nonetheless, they're even if they're back, I would bet my life on it. Neither one's 100%. Do you think Kansas makes it out of the first weekend?
No, I don't. I don't have confidence in it. Even they would, in order for me to have confidence, they both have to be 100%, and that's just not in the cards for this year. They're not going to be 100%. Kevin McCullough hasn't been 100% since like 2 months ago. Hunter Dickinson, even though it's his right shoulder, he shoots lefty. That's basically all he does anyways, is shoot his left hand. He basically has no right hand as it is anyways, but still that's an injury. Teams are going to hold in on that and try to be physical with them and get them out of the game. And if you can get Hunter Dickinson out of the game for small stints, during March Madness, then you have a better chance of winning. Whether it's first round or second round, I don't see us making it out of the first weekend at all. My confidence level has deteriorated tremendously over these last couple of months. But let's go ahead and move on. We got some previews to talk about.
It's hard. You weren't going to ask about Indiana State real quick?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. We briefly mentioned them kind of on Sunday's pod. We basically talked the majority about Drake and then winning the Missouri Valley this season. Indiana State, do they deserve, not if they want, because we all want them into the tournament, do they deserve an NCAA at-large bid?
Over the likes of Villanova and them, this is where, listen, they won 28 games, 28-6. And they lost back-to-back to Illinois State, Southern Illinois back in middle February. And the head of the committee chair even mentioned them by name that Jason Kent didn't play. So they're possibly going to take injuries into account. Let's assume they win those 2 games, right? Because he plays. They're 30-4. Now, I know teams like that have been left out before. But Peyton, they lost to the only other team in the conference that was just as good as them. They challenged themselves in the non-con. They went at Alabama and played Alabama without Robbie Avila, by the way.
Yeah.
They went to Michigan State, played at Michigan State in a close game that Michigan State kind of got away from them late. They played Toledo. I mean, they played, and then the Valley was a pretty good top-heavy conference this year, mid-major-wise. If the final spot came down between Indiana State and Villanova to get in the field 68, give me Indiana State. And I know the reasons why people argue against them despite all this. Well, because the strength of schedule and the net or whatever. Put them in the tournament. Put them in the first 4. Put them in Dayton. That's fair. Let them in Villanova play it out in Dayton. But do not leave them out of this NCAA tournament.
People talk about the net rankings and the strength of schedule. They're 26 in the net and the 34th in the strength of schedule. Like, I don't know what's the argument there. Like, they're top 35 in both. Like, that should be a tournament. Plus, they won 28 games this season, only lost 6 or 17-3 in conference play. The OVC, not the OVC, but the NBC regular season champs. The quad one record's 1-4. They've actually got a quad one win this season. To me, do I want them in the tournament? Absolutely 100%. Do they deserve to be in the tournament? I think they deserve to be in the tournament over Villanova. I think they deserve to be in the tournament over Michigan State, who went 500 in Big Ten play this season, who has not looked great all season long. I think they deserve it over them. Man. I think they deserve it over Iowa. Like, I think they deserve it on majority of these teams who are on bubble watch right now. So I absolutely think Virginia. Oh, don't even get me started on that. They absolutely deserve it more than Virginia. So as far as deserving goes, I think they deserve a bid, but we'll see what the committee thinks, and we'll find out on Selection Sunday, this Sunday, March 17th. We'll find out. Let's go ahead and move on to previews. It's really hard with these conference tournaments going on. There's some games being played right now. A lot of these matchups aren't set in stone. There's one matchup that I have right now that's actually set in stone, and that's the Big Ten quarterfinals. One of the matchups is Michigan State taking on Purdue. Josh, Michigan State, they desperately need wins to get into the tournament. They need to win this game pretty badly. They've got good guards. They got Tom Izzo. It's Tom Izzo in March. That's you. I'm pretty sure you predicted Michigan State to win the Big Ten this year in the conference tournament. Do you still keep that same confidence in Michigan State?
Well, let's see. They finished the regular season losing 4 of 5, right?
Yeah.
They did have a good win against Northwestern at home. And I may get the last 5. They played a much better Ohio State that got hot after the coaching change. Yada, yada, yada. They won their first game today in the 8-9 matchup, beating Minnesota by 10. They're 19-13 on the year. AJ Hogard had 17, Tyson Walker had 15. Nobody else really did much of consequence. I mean, it was balanced scoring, don't get me wrong. They got contributions from everybody in a way. But it runs through like it has, and we predicted at the beginning of the year. Tyson Walker, AJ Hogard does well. They have a shot. Here's the problem, Peyton. When they've played Purdue both times this season, they played them close a couple weeks ago in Mackey, even led that game early there for a while, and then lost by 6. The first matchup at home, or they only play them once? Oh, sorry, they only played Purdue once. I thought they played them twice. So they played Purdue to a 6-point game. Here's the problem. Can you trust A.J. Hoggard and Tyson Walker? I think you can. I mean, I think you can, and it is March. I think you'll see some special games from Tyson Walker in particular. But what does Malik Hall, Jaden Atkins do? Can you get anything from Xavier Booker and Cohen Carr, the freshman? Can you get anything from just anybody else? Jackson Kohler? Because here's the problem. I mean, even Carson Cooper, who's been starting here a little bit at center. When you play Zach Edey, he's going to get your bigs in foul trouble if you don't play it a certain way.
Absolutely.
So can Michigan State play small ball, and does it work? That's where I think like a Xavier Booker, even though he's 6'11", he's more of an agile, at least when he was in high school he was. He hasn't really shown it this year. Can you move, say, screw it, we'll move Malik Hall to the 5, we'll play Cohen Carr, whoever at the 4, and we'll put A.J. Hoggard, Tyson Walker, and Jaden Atkins around him. We'll just go small and try to spread them out. Izzo's smart enough he can do that. But that would require Malik Hall and them to shoot threes to pull Zach Edey away from the rim. Malik Hall's shooting 36% from 3, so it's possible. I don't know. Let me hear your thoughts, and I'll give you a prediction, because I'm going back and forth. It's been really hard to trust Michigan State this year, even though they've played one of the most challenging schedules in college basketball.
It's Tom Izzo in March, and he is Mr. March, and normally when this time period happens, I would normally favor Michigan State, especially when they've got good guards like A.J. Hoggard and Tyson Walker. But here's the thing. When you talk about trust levels, I trust Tyson Walker a little bit more than I trust A.J. Hoggard. But Tyson Walker, in this last month and a half, he really hasn't been playing up to the potential that we know he can be at, like he was playing at last year during this time. And also, he's had a couple of injuries this season that's kind of derailed him just a little bit. I think that's going to play a big factor in this one. As far as trust, there's not many backcourts in the country that I trust more right now than Purdue's guards. Braden Smith is like a first-team All-American in the Big Ten. Don't at me. If I'm doing a Big Ten list, awards list, I think he deserves it. He's played great this season. He's been a huge difference maker for Purdue this season. Then you add on Fletcher Loyer, who can shoot and can stroke the ball and take care of it. And obviously, Zach Edey is going to do what he normally does this season, National Player of the Year type of guy. I think I'm going to go with Purdue in this one. And I think Purdue, like I mentioned about a week ago, I think they won through this conference, and I think they win this game by double digits.
Without going too long, here's the case for Michigan State.
Go ahead.
You lost the 6 at Purdue a few weeks ago. Edey, I mean, he did what he did. 32 points, 11 rebounds, right? Yep. Braden Smith pitched in 23. Fletcher Loyer had 15. He hit 4 threes. If you look at Michigan State, Xavier Booker came off the bench, played 13 minutes, had 11 points. He hit 2 threes himself, which is good for what I said about just saying, screw it, go a little bit more smaller, a little bit more athletic. Fletcher Loyer, though, 15 points. If you look at his last few games, he's got hot, to his credit. 15, 16, 15. But before that, 9, 2, 6, 3, 5, 12. He's so inconsistent shooting the ball is what I'm saying. Do you think Fletcher Loyer, in their first game in the Big Ten tournament, now we're in the month of March where they still have ghosts, I'm sure, from last year's NCAA tournament that's going to be hanging over them. Do they get tight? And this is where Michigan State can capitalize. If they get up and down Fletcher Loyer, right, they have a real shot. I'm going with the upset. I'm going Michigan State. I said it in the Jerome. I'm sticking with it. I think the guards for Michigan State play well enough. I think Walker, Hoggard in double figures, and I think at least one of the big slash wings for Michigan State, whether it be Malik Hall, whether it be Jaden Atkins, whether it be, and not that he's a big, but you know what I'm saying, or Xavier Booker has a breakout game. They go nuts from 3. I got Michigan State winning and really putting the pressure on Purdue to fill them ghosts going in the NCAA tournament next week.
We'll see. You went with Michigan State. I'm sticking with Purdue. We'll find out tomorrow I think that game tips off at noon, so it'll be an early one. So I'll be up to watch it 100%. Is there any has any of your Power 6 conference predictions changed at all during this week? Because mine hasn't at all. Like all of my predictions, I still think it's going to happen. I think Houston wins the Big 12. I think North Carolina wins the ACC. I think Tennessee wins the SEC. And I think UConn wins the Big East, and obviously Purdue wins Big Ten. So my predictions hasn't changed at all.
Nah, I mean, I had Kansas winning the Big 12.
I forgot about that.
This is before I knew that the two guys weren't playing. I just thought that they'd, in the friend, they're basically the home crowd. They'd get in a run. I mean, I could see Cincinnati winning tonight and make it. I can actually see Cincinnati making it to the final where they'll get slaughtered by Houston. Houston's going to win the Big 12. Like, they put an ass whooping on TCU, who we both are really high on. They put an ass whooping on them.
Yeah.
Big East, I mean, UConn. They'll play St. John's tomorrow. The Johnny's got a win that should put them solidly in the NCAA tournament. They play them in the semifinal in Madison Square Garden. I think that Pitino designed some stuff to keep it close, but UConn's a machine, man. They're a machine. Long story short, no. I don't think really much in the Power Six has changed. I went crazy in the Pac-12, and Arizona just slaughtered USC. So I don't know. I went a little nuts in some of those conference tournaments.
Well, if you're going to go nuts on a conference tournament, 100% it should be the Pac-12. That conference. Before I get into it, I posted a little experiment on Facebook. I had people rank conferences. Some of I'm not going to mention majority of them, but the craziest thing to me is all of the people that really keep up with college basketball. 3 of the last 4 was the Big East, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. And you know what those 3 conferences have in common, in my opinion? They're all basketball conferences, pretty much. And they're all towards the bottom half of the conference tiers. That's crazy to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a style. I don't know if it's lack of guard play. I really don't know what the issue is. It's crazy that we're to that period now. And I said Big East. I meant ACC. Sorry. ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12. Those are the conference I meant to talk about, not Big East.
I get you. And I just think it has a lot to do with, I don't know, style of play, recruiting outside the top tier teams in the conference. I don't know. We could spend a whole summer show doing what's wrong with some of these conferences too, but
let's stay on the conference path. We just talked about the major conferences. Let's talk about some of these mid-majors. Predictions. I did all these conferences. I already did predictions on the YouTube channel. Only one of them's changed because I'll get to them in a minute. But Josh, Atlantic 10 Conference, who do you have winning the league?
Well, we talked about it to start here, right? The number 1 seed Richmond goes out. I had them winning it. So St. Joe's is red hot. You had also today VCU beating UMass by 14 in the 5-4 matchup. We still got games. Loyola Chicago is the 2 seed playing 7-seeded St. Bonnie's right now as we record. And then Dayton plays Duquesne tonight to wrap up quarterfinal action. Saturday is the semifinals. We know at least one of those games are set, and that's VCU St. Joe's, and then the winner, obviously, of Loyola and St. Bonnie's versus the winner of Dayton Duquesne. I think we get Loyola Dayton in a semifinal. I think in the championship, I do think Dayton gets some get back on Loyola, who beat them a few weeks ago. And I think Dayton goes to the final, and I think they're going to play a hot shooting St. Joe's team. And I'll give you an upset that's going to steal a bid here. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt our guys over Indiana State. But I think St. Joe's is going to win this damn thing from the 9 seed. I like the way they shoot. They've got playmakers. And how many times do we say in March, how do you win in March? What's the most important grouping of players that win games in March?
You need guys to be able to shoot the ball and score.
You need good guards, especially good guards who shoot. Their percentage is it's average from 3, but there's times they can get red hot. Eric Reynolds, Xavier Brown, Lynn Greer-Payton, 3 really explosive guards. Cameron Brown. I'm sorry. I mean, this is a good team. I think they're riding a hot hand, and I think St. Joe's goes dancing. I think they win the A-10.
The one thing that can't happen, either way, whether it's St. Joe's or VCU, one of those teams is going to get into the final, and either one of those teams are going to be bid stealers because they're not getting an out-large bid, and that really is going to take away from an Indiana State or some of these other, like Villanova and Texas. It's really going to take away some at-large bids if either one of those teams win the championship. I'm sticking with my pick on the drum. I'm sticking with my pick on the YouTube video. I think Dayton's the best team in this league. I didn't have Richmond going into the final anyways. I had Dayton. I forgot who else I picked. Or maybe I had Richmond. I don't know. Either way, I got Dayton, the best three-point shooting team, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, shooting out 40%. They're the best two-point shooting team in this league at 54%. So they can attack the rim. They can stretch out his shots. They got DeRon Holmes down there doing what he does, and they got multiple shooters around him. And they got a top 5 defense in this league, something that St. Joe's does not have going for them. I think Dayton wins this league.
Do you know the thing real quick I like about St. Joe's run through the A-10 tournament these last couple days? They beat George Mason, who was a higher seed than them, like a lower seed, higher seed, however you want to say that. They were a better seed than St. Joe's. They shot incredible from the three as far as number of makes. They went 10 to 27, 37%, so it's really good from three. Eric Reynolds only had 9 points. Today in the win against Richmond, a 5-point win, Eric Reynolds goes for 30, but they shot 6 of 22 from three collectively. So they've won 2 different ways in 2 different days, which makes them dangerous for VCU on Saturday and potentially whoever on Sunday in the championship game. That's what I'm saying. They're playing with confidence. There's something about riding a hot hand. I'm going St. Joe's to win the A-10.
Let's go ahead and move on to the MAC, the Big Mac Conference. Toledo, you like that? Toledo, the 1 seed. That. I expected them to lose early, but I did not expect them to lose to 8 seed Kansas State. That game actually kind of shocked me a little bit. Davis had 26 and 12 in that one. He played great. So they got knocked off. Central Michigan got knocked off by Bowling Green. I had Central Michigan winning that one. So as of now, we still got Akron as a 2 seed. They beat Miami of Ohio. Who do you have winning this league?
Well, that's interesting because Akron was not Akron, but Toledo was the prohibitive favorite, obviously winning the conference. But Kent State, I'm trying to pull up the magazine here where I had wrote about them because I did the MAC for the magazine this year, and I'll find it while you're talking. And then Bowling Green beat Central Michigan. I think this is going to be another wild one, Peyton. I really like Akron. I mean, there's a 2 seed in this conference. I really like Akron. I like the way Kent State's playing right now, even though they're the 8 seed. But Akron challenged themselves. I mean, they had 3 losses in a row there in basically 8 days back in late November there. Utah State, Drake, UNLV. 3 potential tournament teams. 2 for sure. UNLV might sneak in there. They played a good St. Bonnie's team to a 1-point game. So this is a good Akron team for a reason. Enrique Freeman, Ali coming in from Butler. Greg Tribble, Sammy Hunter. This is a good team. I'm going to go Akron. I think that's who I picked if I remember for the Jerome. I'm going to go Akron wins this, but I would not be shocked at all if Kent State gets on a run and wins this. They play Bowling Green in the semifinals tomorrow. Favorable matchup in ways for them. And then you get to the finals on Saturday and anything happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kent State makes a run and wins the damn thing, but I'm going to go with Akron.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my Jerome pick, sticking with my prediction on a YouTube video. I really like this Akron squad. They're deep, they're talented. Enrique Freeman is the best player in the Enrique Freeman is the best player in this league by far. He had 30 and 12 against Miami of Ohio, so he had a double-double. This kid's amazing. You need to go watch highlights. So you want to see? He's really good. Go ahead.
So in the magazine, for those who are watching along live, hopefully you can see this. Hold on, let me pull it up. In the magazine, right there. Those were my conference predictions in the standings. Who's 1 and 2?
Akron and Kent State.
That's your final. I predicted it, and I know they kind of struggled through conference play, but I predicted them to finish second in the conference. I think that's still a really talented and good team. Jalen Solinger, leading point guard. I'm going to say Kent State, Akron in the final on Saturday, and yeah. I'll say Akron still wins, but those were my 1 and 2 in the preseason, and I'll stick with them in the final.
Conference USA, moving on to that league. LA Tech, the 1 seed, got knocked out early. I am going to be honest. Yeah. I did not expect that to happen. I was very confident LA Tech, them and Sam Houston was the 2 best teams in this league. Only separated by 1 game. The rest of the league was kind of mediocre. They end up losing early on. That's going to knock them out because they're not going to get an at-large bid. Josh, who you got winning the Conference USA?
Well, in the Jerome, I picked LA Tech, so I was there with you. if Western Kentucky tonight can, in the quarterfinals, get by New Mexico State, they will play Middle Tennessee State. That is a favorable matchup. Let me pull up from the season, see how they did against them in the season. They beat Middle Tennessee State once. They beat them. They split. They won at home. They lost on the road. They actually finished the year on a 4-game losing streak. But I like Western Kentucky still. Steve Lutz's first year, 19-11, not terrible. They're number 1 in adjusted tempo. You talk about a team that wants to play fast. They got good wins against Eastern Kentucky. They beat Bowling Green, we talked about. I mean, I like Western Kentucky. So I favor them in the rubber match against Middle Tennessee, which would put them in the final against probably Sam Houston. Let's go back and see how they did against Sam Houston. They lost both times by a combined 6 points. What do we say about trying to beat a team for 3 times in the season?
It's hard.
It is hard. And they've got players. Brandon Newman coming in from Purdue. Dante Allen, the former Kentucky kid, we know he's a sniper. Christian Lander, former Indiana player off the bench. I like Western Kentucky from the 3-seed spot since the matchups are favorable. As long as they get by New Mexico State tonight in the quarterfinals, I like them cruising to the championship, and I think they beat Sam Houston State finally. I'm going Western Kentucky to win the bid.
So if you go off my predictions for the YouTube video, I have Liberty beating Sam Houston State in the semifinals. So by proxy, I still think that's going to happen. I think Liberty beats UTEP today, and I think tomorrow when they play Sam Houston State, I think they're going to beat Sam Houston State. They've got guys. They got Kyle Rode. They've got Zach Cleveland. They've got 2 top 5 players in the league. And they shoot the ball really well from inside the paint. They attack the rim really well, and they defend the 3 really well. And teams don't really get a high free throw percentage or free throws attempts against them, so they really do a good job of keeping teams off the free throw line. I think Liberty beats St. Houston State in the semis, and I think Liberty goes on to get a bid. I think they're motivated from last year being in the ASUN championship and losing a close game to Kennesaw State. Richie McKay and the boys, they're going to get it done. They're going to remember that. It's going to be a revenge game, kind of, for them. I think Liberty gets the bid. They win Conference USA.
Can I give you a crazy stat on Western Kentucky?
Go ahead.
I just counted it up. They've got 11 losses on the year by a combined 57 points.
Jesus.
Their biggest losses this year are 2 games by 10 points. Everything, it's basically they've only lost games 10 and under. A handful of games by 2 or 3 points. They've got 11 losses by a combined 57 points. That's how close they are to being maybe a 25-win team. This is a talented team from the 3 spot. I think the bracket opened up for them. Give me Western.
Moving on to the Big West. I had UC Irvine winning this league, and I still hold true to that. UC Irvine, I'm really hoping I see a 1-2 matchup in this one. I hope it holds chalk. UC Irvine, UC Davis, because that matchup is going to be very interesting. You got the best offense in this tournament in UC Irvine, and UC Irvine also has a really good defense, the best offense in this league as well. But UC Davis is sitting there as second in that same category. It's going to be a very intense game. I still think that's going to be the final, and I still think UC Irvine pulls it out late. UC Irvine, I'm sticking with my drum pick.
I'm going with you, UC Irvine. They got a big man in the middle, Bent Lupton. I probably butchered that, but he's 7'1", 265 pounds. Helps defensively. They got the number 35th ranked defense and defensive efficiency on KenPom, and they've got 2 basically guards. One plays shooting guard, one plays small forward. So 6'2", 6'4", to me, they're guards. They're undersized outside, the 7'1" center. But Justin Home shoots 38.5% from 3. Yep. And then Andre Henry shoots 41% from 3. They got 2 guards that are capable of filling it up from the wings. They got a big man in the middle that I don't think UC Davis can handle, even though UC Davis did beat them on the road back on January 20th in a low-scoring affair. I still think UC Irvine wins. I'm with you.
Keep in mind on that for UC Davis, they got 2 of the top 5 best players in this league, Elijah Pepper and Ty Johnson. They really need help heading into this league tournament if they want to pull off a bid. We'll see how it goes, but I do think UC Irvine. I'm sticking with my drum pick, and I'm sticking with my YouTube video. I never count out Coach McKay. I agree with you, Trevor. That's why I picked Liberty to win Conference USA. I had that prediction right now. I just changed my drum pick.
Did you see his comment? I was looking at KenPom. I didn't even see it commented. Did you see that one?
Shouldn't change your own pick anyway. I didn't, and looked out. It turned out for me 2 points. Damn, son. Y'all lucky I wasn't in that league because I at least have 5 tournament champions already predicted. But anyhow, Josh, is anything that you want to preview? Any other games? Anything that interests you?
No. I mean, I really
think we covered it all.
Yeah, we did. Just real quick, because I know we got to wrap things up here on this Thursday edition. SEC, obviously, let's circle back to that real quick. We know South Carolina's in the they're in semifinal, right? No, they are in the quarterfinal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping it holds chalk. Yep. I really hope semifinal Saturday is Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky, Alabama, 4 incredible fan bases, 4 really talented and good teams. And Nashville was popping last night. You get those 4 fan bases, probably the 4 best in the conference, all in Nashville converging together, wild on Broadway, drunk before the game and after on Saturday night. And then give me Tennessee, Kentucky for the rubber match on Sunday. I'm telling you, it may be the best conference in college basketball as far as conference tournament goes this weekend. Make sure it goes chalk, I'm hoping. And let's get it popping on Saturday night. I'm really excited to watch how the SEC tournament plays out.
Let's go ahead and start to close the show out. It's been a fun show. I've had a lot of fun doing this. Bank on it. Selection Sunday edition. You can have a couple bank on it, but one of them at least has to be something about what's going to happen on Selection Sunday. Josh, you go ahead and start.
All right, let's rotate because I've got maybe 2 here. So if you've got 2, I'll do one, you do one.
All right, you go ahead and start it first, though.
Here we go. Oh, man, you put me on the spot here. Okay, I'll make an easier bank on it here. I'm confident in Indiana State. Bank on it when the selection show on Sunday happens. The Sycamore's name will be revealed. They'll probably be in Dayton in that 11 versus 11 game. But Indiana State will be in the NCAA tournament. Bank on it.
Okay. I got a little bit of an easy one. I'm not going to say easy one because it's still a high brand profile. Bank on it. Michigan State's name does not get called.
Woo! I like it.
Does not get called. And it should. 10-10 in Big Ten play in a Big Ten conference that hasn't been good in like 5 years. Come on now. They don't deserve to be in.
I like it.
Go ahead.
I've got a double one here. And they're both about teams who I think is going to get in the NCAA tournament as well. We'll keep that theme going. Bank on it. Ohio State, Kansas State. God. Make the field of 68 because I think Kansas State we talked about it. They're going to go on a run here in the Big 12 tournament. They're going to get in, and I think Ohio State's going to shock the world. They've got hot since they changed the head coach. They've got an interim coach. They're playing as well as anybody in the Big Ten, not named Purdue. I could see them going on a run and maybe even winning the whole damn tournament to steal a bid. I mean, if you look on Dom's bracket right now, they're on the next 4 out. Both of these are. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. Ohio State can sneak in. I think Ohio State, Kansas State both see their name called on Selection Sunday. Bank on it.
Bank on it. Wichita State makes the NCAA tournament because they will steal a bid from a team like Indiana State. Unfortunately, that's not what I want to happen, but I do think Wichita State's playing really good right now. They just beat Memphis earlier today as we were recording, matter of fact. Wichita State wins the American Championship, and they will punch their ticket into March and steal a bid and really make some of these bubble teams or teams on the bubble sweat their little asses off because it's going to get tight and it's going to be very intriguing. You got any more?
Well, Trevor says Sparty doesn't deserve it. We've said that. I completely agree. Yeah. Completely agree. And he also asked, would that be the first time the coach gets fired and the interim leads them to a tournament? I don't know if it'd be the first time. Nothing's popping up on memory.
No. I mean, Texas
I was going to say maybe Rodney Terry, but they were already probably a tournament team.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They got hot late. I don't know. I'm sure it's happened. Maybe not at this magnitude, because if you remember, Ohio State was left for dead when Chris Holtmann got fired. Like, they were nowhere near tournament conversations, and they've won 4 in a row. They've won 6 of their last 8, including wins over Purdue, Michigan State, Nebraska. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's all I'm saying. They've got a great win against Alabama. It looks better by the day. So I'm just saying, it's not out of the realm of possibility Ohio State gets hot in this Big Ten tournament. And if they can at least get to the final, that would put them at like, what, 21, 22 wins? 22 and 13 over Villanova? I'd put Ohio State in over Villanova. Here's my bank on it. How about that? Marquette's going to find a way to beat Villanova tonight to give them, what, their 15th loss? Villanova does not make the NCAA tournament. Neither does Virginia.
They should. Neither one of them deserve to be in the tournament.
Virginia, neither one deserve to be in my NCAA tournament. Bank on it.
Hey, I've got a couple more. For seeding wise goes on Selection Sunday, Kentucky, North Carolina, and St. John's is all going to be in the same region.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Guarantee it. Rick Pitino in Kentucky, there's that little history. I don't know if they'll ever play, but we'll see. Because St. John's is going to be in the playing game. They're going to be high as like maybe a 10 seed. But other than that, obviously, I think they'll be in the NCAA tournament in Carolina, where they'll be the 1 seed, the final 1 seed, or probably the highest 2 seed. I think them and Kentucky is going to be in the same region because Kentucky is most likely going to be a 3.
Here's another one, and I'll end mine on this.
Yep.
No matter what Kentucky does, they can go win the SEC tournament, right? Which would give them a couple more quad 1 wins. They could make it semifinals. They could lose tomorrow to Texas A&M or Ole Miss. The game's about to tip off now. If Kentucky deserves, let's say they deserve to be a 2 seed, the selection committee will make sure they're like a 3. If they deserve to be a 3, they'll make sure they're a 4. Point being, they're going to screw Kentucky in favor of Duke because they do it every year. Duke will get an easy region with a seed they haven't earned. Kentucky will get the seed that they don't deserve, if that makes sense. Because it happens almost every year unless both of them are 1 seeds or neither one makes tournament, which hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Let's go ahead. Shout-outs. I'll go ahead and start with mine. I got 3. Jalen Blackman from Stetson, 43 points, 3 assists, 5 rebounds, and in the Atlantic Sun championship game, anytime you can put a 43-piece up on and that magnitude of the game to punch your ticket into the big dance, incredible performance. Hats off to you. No pun intended because the nickname was the Hatters. Big shout out to them, though. Donnie Jones, all those guys. Congratulations. I can't wait to see what you guys get picked in Selection Sunday, March 17th. So shout out to Jalen Blackman. He's a hell of a player. Next shout out, Will Wade and the whole Mini State program. Because like I mentioned earlier, he's not going to get National Coach of the Year honors. It's not that high of a level. We all know that. Last year, McNeese, 11 games they won. They haven't been to the tournament since 2002. That's a 22-year drought. He comes in, first damn season, 30-3. They're going to be as high as a 12 seed, 12, 13 seed. That is upset territory. Depends on who they play. I'm probably going with McNeese State winning the game in March. Shout out to him, Will Wade. Incredible job. Despite what I've said about him in the past when he's at LSU and the whole scandals of cheating and stuff like that happen. Hats off to you. You're a hell of a coach, and shout out to you. Final shout out goes to, I kind of just forgot, so never mind. Go ahead while I think about mine. I kind of just forgot it. Oh, no. I had to look at my shirt. Josh Hield.
Oh, yeah.
How have you pronounced his last name correctly?
Yeah.
I did not think he was going to have the balls to do this. For some reason, I woke up this morning, and even though the rumors were swirling around that this was going to happen, I still had a little doubt in my mind. I'm like, there's no way they're going to fire him. They're going to give him a 3rd year for whatever reason. And he made the right decision. Good call. Now the offseason begins, and hopefully, I hope and pray, fingers crossed, we get this hire right, because I do not want to have to go through this bullshit ever again. Hopefully, the next time I have to go through this is because one of our coaches, whoever it is, retires, and then we'll have to find a new coach because they're doing that good of a job. Shout out to Josh Hield, and hopefully the Louisville's back in the right direction. We'll see, though. Josh, go ahead.
Shout out to Trey Townsend from Oakland. Oakland won the Horizon League Tournament Championship. They're going dancing. They're going to be a dangerous team in like that 13, 14, 15 seeded range. He dropped 38 and 11, 5 assists, 1 block, 1 steal in the Horizon Championship game against Milwaukee. Yep. He's talented, man. He could carry Oakland if they are like a 13 or 14 seed to knock off a 3 or 4. Like, that's a dangerous team. And shout out Greg Camphy, their coach. 40th season. I remember writing about him in the magazine, and I didn't predict them to finish this high. They won the regular season. They won the conference tournament championship. Trey Townsend, 38 and 11 in the title clinching game. Shout out Cincinnati for the run they're on. I mean, Wes Miller's doing an incredible job, slowly but surely building Cincinnati back into a power program in a really good conference in their first year. They're one step away. I mean, if they can keep winning a couple games, you're talking about a Cincinnati team that might be on the right side of the bubble. It depends. Shout out Notre Dame. I know the season didn't go as well as it wanted, but they did get a win in the conference tournament, beating Georgia Tech the other night before ultimately getting beat last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say. Micah Shrewsbury, you're fooling yourself if you don't think that next year Notre Dame's going to be good. Marcus Burton's coming back. They've got the coach's son, Braden Shrewsbury. And then progressively, Coach Shrewsbury is going to have Notre Dame a real problem for teams in the ACC. So keep an eye out on the Fighting Irish as the years progress, because Micah Shrewsbury as a coach is the real deal. And they ended the season, even though it ended in a loss, the final month of the season saw real progress. And I think keep an eye out for Notre Dame moving forward. Those are my shout outs.
I'm glad you mentioned Notre Dame. One more shout out real quick. Shout out to Trevor Everett and his NC State Wolfpack for ending this horrible nightmare of 2 seasons of Kenny Payne. I'm so thankful that you guys ended his run early. That way I'd have to watch more of Kenny Payne and his bullshit comments post game. So thank you, Trevor Everett, and thank you to his NC State Wolfpack for ending this horrible nightmare. I had this in my notes. I'm glad I just looked at my notes here in this format, because if not, then I'd end up forgetting about it, even though it's in bold letters right in front of me. Tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, I will be a guest on the Out of Pocket radio show hosted by Michael Davis. Very excited to hop on there, talk about college basketball, talk about Selection Sunday, previewing that. Going to have a lot of fun. I think it's Tobacco Sports Radio, and it's based out of North Carolina. Josh has been on his wrestling podcast before here recently. I'm very excited to hop on with them. I don't know what the panel is. Don't know exactly what we'll be talking about, but it's fun. Should be a lot of fun. 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be on the YouTube page, Facebook group, Facebook page, and all that stuff on there. Can't wait for that. Big shout out to Michael for having me on. So tune into that. As far as that goes, the next episode, the next time you'll be hearing from myself, Josh, and Trevor will be
Phil
Monday.
Too. Phil will be back.
Phil, that's right, and Phil. First time ever, all season. Well, not ever, first time all season. The Four Horsemen of ECB will be back Monday, previewing the tournament. It's time.
5 p.m. Eastern.
5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to try our best to have some coaches. We're going to get a format laid out. We're going to have graphics made. It's going to be a big show. Make sure you tune in. Get all your brackets coverage on Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Josh, I cannot wait for it. We're here. It's time.
It's our biggest show every year.
Yes.
It's our longest show every year for a reason. We are going to, for those who stayed with us for the 6 years we've done this, that have going to be new listeners, new watchers on the YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and all that. We break down the entire tournament bracket. We will cover you region by region. We're going to break down the upsets potential to keep an eye out for your betting and for your brackets while you're filling them out. We're going to fill you in on the information on the top seeds. We're going to have you covered from A to Z. It's our biggest show every year, and it comes to you this upcoming Monday, the day after Selection Sunday. So we have 24 hours to digest everything. 5 p.m. Eastern. You will not want to miss it. And if you do miss it live, it'll be immediately up following on audio version. So it gives you a couple days to digest everything and get set for the first round of action that following Thursday. I'm so excited. It's our biggest show. It's our best show. I can't wait till Monday.
Absolutely. And also hop in our bracket challenge. We just announced the details this week. It's pinned. I'm pretty sure if it's not pinned already, I'll go ahead and pin it. It'll be in the Facebook group. It'll be on Twitter. And conjunction with House College of Hoops, House Enterprise. So make sure you check that out. Get into that pool. Same format we've done these last 5-6 years of doing this. So it's pretty much the same format. We're just joining forces with House of College Hoops, our network. With that being said, my name is Peyton. He's Josh. We'll catch you Monday. Enjoy the rest of these conference tournaments. Watch all these games. Digest it, because it's a big moment for all of our college basketball junkies like ourselves. Catch you on next time. Peace.